Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, Ben has an update on what he's seen in the field during his travels and field days this week. We explain the importance of our field inspectors and how their job is an integral part of Merschman Seeds producing high-quality products. Lynn talks about the potential of desiccation and how it aids in harvestability. Are you subscribed to Blue Water Outlook? Sign up to receive weather updates from John Felt.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have our regulars, Ben, Lynn, and Turk, and we'll start with Ben.
Yep. This past week, we've been doing a lot of traveling, wrapping up the field day season, talking about our new seed treatments and new products and stuff that are coming down the line for the 2023 launch. So I had the opportunity to go see a lot of crops. I've been basically from 30 minutes west of Chicago all the way down to west central Missouri, we'll call it. So it's definitely the haves and the have-nots of the world, and those yields are starting to roll in. Everywhere that I traveled, the earliest side of the spectrum, soybeans are turning to their fullest extent. They're probably ready to harvest within the next 2 days. The mid-season beans are just starting to turn pretty good, and the fullest season beans are still pretty green, maybe starting to show a tinge of senescence. So they're just starting to rock and roll that direction. Some corn has come off. We've been hearing some surprising yields. Some of it's a little bit better than expected. Some of it's a little bit worse than expected. And the dividing line on better than expected is water holding capacity, which isn't a surprise for the conditions that we had here in southeast Iowa. The further north, there's obviously a lot less corn picked. But as we travel south, I guess I was in Ankeny yesterday afternoon, and there's probably 15 fields on the way through that had corn harvested. So harvest is going to be in full swing in the next couple of weeks here, and that gets us into some of the things that are going on right now from a product manager role. Is we have all of our inspectors running, and Joe, why don't you talk a little bit about what the inspectors do and why they're so important to our quality process?
Oh, it's a extremely last check of our production fields, and we do that when we have a minimum of 50% leaf drop. So our inspectors get out in the field and we confirm pubescence, hilum, and pod colors to make sure the variety is pure. And in general, if there's any problems out there, we make notes on it. So we basically have a pretty good idea of how our production looks, and we're verifying varietal purities. And then we inspect the bins to make sure they've been cleaned out, and we go over some last minute details with the farmers, as far as, making sure that they're doing everything according to the way we want things done. But we follow the same rules as the Iowa crop improvement and any crop improvement for that matter in the states as far as certification process goes. And it's something that's in our DNA, and it's been drilled into us since the 50s. And we had the first certified seed field in this county back in 1956. So we're very quality conscious, and of course then we take it from there.
Yep. So a couple of the other things that they're checking for that I thought would make note is corn. So we want to make sure we don't have any corn out in those fields, and we take note of that. So we reject fields that have any volunteer corn that have came through.
Nightshade's another one that we look forward to.
Cockleburrs have become a pretty big issue the past couple of years. So we
make notes on any of those issues like that.
Yep. And those are the fields that, when we talk about, why we're not always the cheapest brand on the block, but the highest quality brand on the block, is we will take those fields and we will abandon those fields, and we raise more seed than we actually even project what we're going to need, because there are some mistakes that happen out there. Cockleburrs, they emerge late and they're hard to control sometimes. Sometimes it's really off-label application to go back and control those. So those are all the things that are happening right now. The inspectors are running all over our sales footprint and our geography where we raise seed production, and I think we're going to start seeing some beans roll in probably the end of next week.
I was here last night at 8:30, and one of the inspectors was just getting back, washing his truck before he put it away.
That's right.
So it's a big effort, and so if you see the Merschman vehicle out there, he's out there walking that field and making sure that the first step for quality is there.
Yep. So some of the other things that have happened this week, I guess, is when I was in Northeast, Illinois. We have some customers that are experiencing white mold and beans that even have pretty decent ratings for white mold. So we have customers really excited about our new Heads Up addition to our Starting Line Plus. So that is a product that works really well on basically turning on the right enzymes on the inside of the plant. It's a biological product that turns on the enzymes on the inside of the plant that don't allow the infection for the white mold disease to appear. It also has some efficacy against low levels of sudden death. So we have customers that are really excited on our northern footprint of our territory where white mold can become an issue.
Yeah, it's as long as that plant's growing, you have protection.
Correct. As long as you have actively growing tissue.
Yep. Whereas a seed treatment basically has a shelf life from the standpoint of once you put it on, it's deteriorating. It starts breaking down. It can't control for a whole season.
Yep.
It's initial.
Yep. So it's been a busy week. I can't wait till next week when the combines start rolling. So what do you got?
Yes, the biggest thing I thought was interesting this week was we had a grower that was interested in desiccating some soybeans. What they had going on was 2 different varieties in a field, not getting quite even maturity. Some low-lying areas that's, once again, like your corn, holding on pretty good. So have some stuff that is, readily harvestable right now, and then you go a few feet more and it's probably into that R7, and then you go down into the low spot and we're into the R6, R6.5 point. So he was interested in going in and using a harvest aid on that, so that way he could get the crop off at an even time. This is a low-lying area too. A little bit nervous about some fall rains that come in. This place really likes to hold on to some water, or it's a river bottom. If the river gets out, something catastrophic would happen. This is the place that's going to happen to. So definitely a place that warrants this application. So
talk about when, Lynn.
Yeah.
Talk about when that desiccation
They use
is most
paraquat
effective.
usually. Is that what they use?
Yeah, gramoxone, paraquat seems to be the most popular product. We're looking at that R6.5 stage. So when you look at the plant or look at the pod, if the Ben, help me out here.
If the membrane
is still on the bean, we're probably in that R6. But if the pod is green but the membrane is not connected to the bean, we're in that R6.5. When you get to R7, you have one brown pod on the main stem. So R6.5 seems to be what some publications have come out with as a really good time to do that desiccation. So that way we're preserving seed size on that end of it. So that way we don't have too much variability into the field as far as dealing with some BBs and whatnot. So the beans in question in this one, we were at that R6.5 stage, so it's a really good time for that. So if desiccation is something that it seems to be gaining traction, the guys on Extreme Ag seem to talk about it a lot. They like to use it to, I think part of it they use fuller season beans for where they're at, and they go in and desiccate it off when they hit that point as a harvest aid. So it's something that's not practiced around here locally. Hardly at all, unless you grow some Mite 4.3s planted in July and need to help that out. But it's definitely something that's gaining traction. If you're interested in looking at that, there is a lot of publications out on the internet to help you out. But this one, I'd say the biggest thing is make sure you're at least at that R6.5, so that way we're preserving seed size. If you do it early, you kill the plant too soon, and you're just leaving a little bit of
How much can you accelerate harvest with the desiccation?
On this one, we're probably looking at, would you say, a week to 10 days?
Yep.
The biggest thing that I would say is when you're looking at the field, if you're already at that R7 stage and using a product like a gramoxone, you're probably going to see the plant itself get to the point where it can be looks like it's harvestable in 5 to 7 days. But just look at the label and know that there is a harvest interval on that. One of them we're looking at was a 15-day harvest interval. So if when you get to that R7 stage, you kind of have to judge how fast you're going through senescence, because it might be one of those that if you just hold on, nature is going to take care of it faster than what your harvest interval is going to be.
I was going to say, there's, what, a 2-week harvest interval?
Yeah, 15 to 18 days seem to be a common one that was thrown out there.
And there's some salt products out there that have shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So, some people will use desiccation when they have a weed control problem.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, soybeans are ripe and the weeds are green. So they can kind of work on that problem two ways. Get rid
from going to seed.
Yeah. So in other words, get that weed seed dried down at the same time the soybeans are dried down. So if you got a field that got out of control for whatever reason, that's potentially in this area where I've seen it used.
Mm-hmm. Some guys will say, it's worth 3 to 5 bushel an acre, just because everything is evening out at the same time. You're not waiting for those last green plants to get chewed through the combine. The harvest aid, it's literally a harvest aid. It makes your combine go through the field faster. There's a whole bunch of different things. I'm really curious about it. I think we're going to try it on our wheat rotation this year to try to speed that process along, to try to get the wheat in faster and still maintain 2 crops every year. So there's always fun things to try.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Turk?
News this week was the crop report came out the first part of the week and kind of caught the trade up by surprise. The crop report lowered the bean yields by a bushel and a half, which surprised everybody. Corn harvested acres were down way more than the trade was expecting, and so we've seen a big run up in prices to midweek, and then toward the end of the week we went back the other way, and I don't think we're too far off from where we started the beginning of the week. And harvest pressure is what's coming in to bear here. There's everywhere we go. I was in Wisconsin, and like you, I seen corn being combined. I seen choppers run. I seen hay being baled. Everybody's getting ready for the big push here, and it'll probably start next week or the week after for sure.
Well, Blue Water Outlook put out a fall preview, and basically looks like a carbon copy of last fall. They're talking above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation for September, October, November, and December. So that'll potentially change as time goes along, but we do look like we could have a nice fall. And we know what happened last year when it was a nice fall. There was a lot of work done and got everything going, so we'll see how that plays out. The biggest concern I have, and that's why I think our demand for wheat is up, is because of the fact that droughts do start in the fall. And at some point we got to refill the tank with water, and that's the scary part about a dry fall. So that's one of the things I wanted to contribute. And the other thing too is I ran across a video that was made by a young farmer actually, and he said, what's the worst thing there is about being a farmer? And I thought about that for a little bit, and this will shock city folks. A farmer totally relates to it, but the young farmer said, I feel bad when I take a day off. And what he's referring to is that there's always so much work on the farm that when he takes a day off, he feels like he's neglecting his job. And I thought that was a pretty incredible but true, that most farmers I know, that it's really hard to pry them off the farm, and that's because if they take a day off, they feel bad because they should be working. So kind of an interesting perspective. So, and I know the family and the wives like some time too. So it's really tears them in half. So something I noticed. Well, I have the corny joke. I have one corny joke, and this one here is ag related, and I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, how do you get a country girl's attention? How do you get a country girl's attention? A tractor.
I was going to say buy a horse, man.
Well, anyhow, thank you for watching today, and we hope that you and your family are healthy and safe. Please be careful as you get ready for harvest. Remember, safety first, okay? We'll see you next week, and take care.